Got it. But it's a perspective that Amplitude Mixpanel, could handle enterprise clients. It's not that they're not ready to do so.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of adoption. They're fairly early in their growth curve. Well, not Mixpanel. They've been around for 10 years, but Amplitude, they've been around for a little over 5 years, I would say. I think they haven't just gotten around to it. Their sales forecast is probably based on other segments, which may or may not include enterprise, but there's nothing that stops them. It's just a lot of work, but they can do it if that's where their next opportunity is.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. And I know you mentioned your screening questions, and I've also come across this concept in my research that a lot of the enterprise players, use Adobe Analytics because it's packaged as part of sort of a larger Adobe package for that enterprise. Do you see, what's your perspective on sort of these larger companies that have Adobe potentially switching to a Mixpanel or Amplitude, which has, better feature set, but, isn't currently being used by the larger company?
Can you clarify which does not have a no better feature set?
Adobe.
Yeah, actually it has a worse feature set, to be honest.
That's what I meant. Yeah, it's not as good, but it might be hard to switch just because they're embedded.
So it really depends. Actually, there's an element of culture within the company as well. So larger companies, basically Adobe's customer base, if you just took a pulse of tech savviness or familiarity with the latest tools savviness in Adobe's customer base, it wouldn't be very high. They're pretty much they have a lot of old school customers, like energy companies might be there as well. So the reason they just continue with Adobe Analytics is because they got it for free. They did not know any better. And in general, the consulting hours is something. So one of the things in Adobe's packages is consulting hours. You get a certain amount of free hours. And since a lot of these companies are old school, they actually do require a little bit of hand-holding versus, self-serve, developer-driven onboarding. So once they have that entry point, they pretty much convert their customers to start using analytics. Now, if any of these customers did a little bit of research or were incentivized in some other way to adopt some other tool for any reason, they can easily do it. There's nothing in Adobe Analytics. In fact, it has the worst in-product retention mechanisms among everyone else. These days, you can drop in a Google Analytics SDK and you would capture all the data. Or in case of Heat, you wouldn't even need to capture the data and you would still be capturing it. And the swap out is just not complicated at all, regardless of the size of the company. So I do not think that Adobe has any inherent advantage because they are the incumbents. They have the least advantage compared to all the other incumbents who first get a foothold in the organization.
Got it. That's helpful.
There's a disconnect. You have to understand, unlike Google Analytics, unlike Segment, there's a disconnect between who Adobe's premier products targets and who Adobe Analytics serves. So Adobe's premier products target businesses, and they design websites, and they hardly ever use analytics. It's really the product and engineering and marketing folks, which are targeted by Segment and Amplitude and Google Analytics, who actually also instrument the product as well as run analysis on it. And that's why it's a much more resonant value chain for Google's customers.
Got it. And then taking a step back, just one quick question about, where you see the market moving. What are, potential trends or factors you think that might shape the product analytics market in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I think it's getting fairly mature. So what's going to happen is segmentation of use cases and then specialization in each one of them. For example, one of the things I can speak from the perspective of Postmates that we started seeing is a lot of companies are actually inherently dependent on maps and GPS data sources. So once you combine a different data source, like for example, you're getting all these events and usage information from your customers, but you only have a very high-level idea of that, okay, they might be in San Francisco, they might be in New York. You don't know the precise coordinates, and integration with those GPS coordinates would actually give you a lot granular